I grew up during that period when Instant Messenger was huge.
Right.
It's kind of before like Facebook and before phones really became popular, so texting wasn't a thing. So the biggest way that I interacted with my friends in like early high school was AOL Instant Messenger. And so it kind of comes out of a wanting to kind of lift that up on a pedestal and say like, hey, like this was really special to me. This was really formative for my years, and it's something that doesn't exist anymore.
So I am joined by Kyle Seeley, and we are going to talk about Emily is Away 2. So to begin, Kyle, thank you for agreeing to talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And why don't you give us a pitch for Emily is Away 2 for people that haven't heard of it at all? What is it and why should they be interested?
So Emily's Way 2 is a branching narrative game set in an old instant messenger. So think like AOL Instant Messenger or MSN Messenger. You follow the character through their senior year of high school, and you talk to these two other characters, Emily and Evelyn, through that instant messaging client. And it's all dialogue decision based. So whatever you choose to say will affect how your relationships progress, how the other characters feel about you, and ultimately the ending of your high school career.
Cool. It's an incredibly unique concept. I've never seen any other game kind of tackle the a narrative relationship kind of story in this way. So I have to ask where this idea came from. Where did the idea of using an instant messaging, medium to tell a story come from?
Well, it basically just comes out of nostalgia for me. I grew up during that period when Instant Messenger was huge.
Right.
It's kind of before like Facebook and before phones really became popular, so texting wasn't a thing. So the biggest way that I interacted with my friends in like early high school was AOL Instant Messenger. And so it kind of comes out of a wanting to kind of lift that up on a pedestal and say like, hey, like this was really special to me. This was really formative for my years, and it's something that doesn't exist anymore. Right. Like because phones have kind of taken off. So there's a whole generation of people that will never know what instant messengers were like. So I kind of wanted to show that to them, and then also for people who did get the chance to experience it to like bring them back to that time period.
Sure, yeah, I think you've captured that nostalgia perfectly. In playing the demo, the background noises were stunning in how much it put me in that mindset. The other thing I wanted to ask you is why a sequel? So Emily is Away was your first game, and it's followed up by Emily is Away 2.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose to do a sequel? What's new and what's different?
So this is a spiritual successor to the first game, which means it's a new story, new characters, all that. So really what's the holdover is the interface and the mechanics. And so the great thing about using an instant messaging client as a medium is there's so many different stories you can tell with it.
Sure.
So that was kind of like the idea behind it was, well, let's take what we did with Emily's Way 1, the mechanics in that, and let's create a new story in that medium, taking feedback from players as to like what they wanted. So stuff that's in the new game is the request of players, you can talk to two people at the same time. You can customize your buddy info. You can see people's away messages. And then for me personally, going back and kind of refreshing that design from the first game, I introduced stuff that takes place outside the chat window. So the first game is like this full screen experience, takes over your full screen, it has the background and everything. This game is just the chat window. And then there are stuff that I'm hosting online, so like websites you can go to, and there's file transfers. So it kind of tries to encapsulate more of that 2006 online experience. Different social media websites. So there's like Facebook, there's YouTube, there's file transfers where you can get pictures and text files and chat logs and stuff. And so it's kind of trying to broaden that immersion to the point of it being like almost like you're in that world now.
Awesome. Yeah. So shifting gears from Emily's Away 2 specifically to you as a developer, tell us your story. What got you started in independent game development?
So I've always played games. I've always loved games. I went to school for games at RIT, kind of going in not really understanding at all what it takes to make a game. I'd only really played console games before that, so like I'd only played like the 5 biggest games of the year, like your Call of
Right.
Duty or like BioShock or whatever. And then going in, it was kind of serendipitous because I found indie games in college.
Hmm.
And that's really what motivates me to make games, are these really small, polished experiences that kind of push games as a medium outward.
Sure.
Um, and like it was really great because I didn't know that going in, and then I went in and I found that, and that was like my real inspiration to keep making games. Um, there's the medium comparison where you think about games entertainment as an entertainment medium compared to like film and TV and books and stuff, and it's so young that it's
Yeah.
so easy to like make something new and interesting. Like there's whole genres of games that are potentially waiting to be found.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing about games. It's like a really cool reason to be in games.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you've been playing games all your life. What were some games that you've played, either, nostalgically or recently, that have been an inspiration for you that you've really drawn a lot from?
Well, yeah, so like what I was talking about in college, I found all these games that really inspired me to make like cool and interesting games, and I think that you can see the effects of in my work.
Hmm.
So like stuff like the Telltale game series really opened my eyes to like what games could be. Games like Actual Sunlight,
Hmm.
To the Moon, like are great narrative experiences. The Stanley Parable, those are all great. And those games really inspired Emily as a way.
Yeah.
Um, and the games that I'm playing now, um, I just played Valhalla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that game is so cool. So it's a narrative game um, where you impact the story instead of dialogue decisions. You impact the story by creating drinks as a bartender, and choosing how much alcohol to put in drinks will change some of the story. So that's pretty interesting.
It's a cool mechanic.
Yeah.
So to bring this to a close, we always like to ask developers that are making games now, what other games out there that are being made in the indie community have really grasped their attention. So what kind of games are out there that you're really, really inspired by or intrigued by that especially people might not have heard of?
Yeah, so I mean, Valhalla's a great one.
Hmm.
Just came out. You should definitely play that. Jay Tholen, who also made Dropsy the Clown,
Yeah.
his new game is awesome. It's Hypnospace Outlaw. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like this 90s reimagining of like the internet, where you're like a cop that has to patrol the internet, but it's got all the terrible cliches of the 90s. So like think about like MySpace pages
Oh,
where it
yeah.
has terrible bouncing text and like the 3-frame animated GIFs, like just awful. Um, that's the whole aesthetic for the entire game, and it simulates an OS and everything, and it looks amazing.
Cool.
So I'm really excited about that game.
Awesome. Well, Kyle Seeley, thank you for taking some time to talk to us about Emily is Away 2, which will be coming soon on Steam. People will be able to find it and
Yeah,
wishlist that. So look for a link below in the description.
great.